Models of faithfulness. We should consider the 144,000 as models of what it means to be dedicated disciples of Jesus Christ in the midst of an evil world.
And here we're talking, of course, about the 144,000. Now, they were introduced to us earlier in Revelation, where they're selected by God, 12,000 from each tribe that is mentioned. But now we have another glimpse of these 144,000. And John says, "Then I looked, and there on Mount Zion stood the Lamb. And with him were 144,000, and there Mount Zion seems to be referring to heaven." Depending on how you interpret this, you could also say this is Jerusalem, and Christ has already come to reign. I think probably it's referring to heaven in view of what we read a little later. "Then I looked, there on Mount Zion stood the Lamb, and with him were 144,000, who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. I heard a sound from heaven like the sound of cascading waters, like the rumbling of loud thunder. And the sound I heard was also like harpists playing on their harps. And they sang a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. But no one could learn the song except the 144,000. And most Bible expositors will say, why couldn't others learn the song? I don't know. Nobody knows. It's just a statement of fact. No one could learn the song except the 144,000. Maybe it was a special honor to these individuals that was just a gift to them. But we don't know for sure. No one could learn the song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. So that seems to point the fact that they're in heaven. This is what John saw. And these are the ones not defiled with women. In other words, they were morally pure, for they had kept their virginity. These are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They were redeemed from the human race as the firstfruits for God and the Lamb. No lie was found in their mouths. They are blameless. They are above reproach. In other words, here were incredible models of godliness. And what I simply say here is that they are models of godliness in the sense that they were reflecting the Lord Jesus in true discipleship. And if you go back to Matthew 16, 24, 25, Jesus said to his disciples, and there he's talking, I think, to the 12 particularly, if anyone wants to come with me, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Boy, these 144,000 did that in a way that we probably never will. They're models, however. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life because of me will find it. We're all to be disciples of Jesus Christ. Here you have 144,000 that were really disciples of Jesus Christ. And the question, though our planet is not yet totally controlled by Satan, as it will be during the Great Tribulation, how are many Christians today symbolically identifying themselves with his evil ways? What we see with 144,000 is that they're taking issue, along with those two witnesses that were martyred, with the Antichrist. They ministered probably throughout the Great Tribulation period. That's why there's no chronology referred to in terms of what's emerging here in the book of Revelation. It's an insight into an event that relates to these 144,000 and their ministry for these 3.5 years. But if we come back into our time frame, are there any Christians that are, and I'm going to say this carefully, taking the mark of the beast? Now, I'm not talking about the mark of the Antichrist. I'm talking about the mark of Satan, the influence of Satan, because they love the world, and we're not to love the world. Though our planet is not yet totally controlled by Satan, as it will be during the Great Tribulation, how are many Christians today symbolically, I'm saying that carefully, symbolically identifying themselves with his evil ways? Well, when we conform to the world, and John in his epistle defines that. 1 John 2:15. where he says, don't love the world. He's writing to Christians. It's possible as Christians to love the world. Or the things that belong to the world. Satan controls this world. He's the prince of this world. And if anyone loves the world, love of the Father is not in him, because everything that belongs to the world and to Satan, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, pride in one's lifestyle, is not from the Father, but is from the world. In other words, we have to be awfully careful, even today, that we don't take upon ourselves the mark of Satan, which is the world. And Paul gets very descriptive here in 2 Timothy, the last book he wrote. But know this, difficult times will come in the last days. People will be lovers of self, lovers of money. It's interesting use of the word lovers here, and I highlight this throughout this paragraph. People will be lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, proud, blasphemers, disobedient parents, ungrateful, unholy, unloving, irreconcilable, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, without love for what is good, traitors, reckless, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, holding to the form of religion but denying its power. Avoid these people. Don't associate with people who have that mark, as it were, symbolically. The mark of Satan, who is really the one who controls all of this and influences. So as Christians, we've got to be very, very careful that we don't allow ourselves to be conformed to this world, as Paul said in Romans, but transformed by the renewing of our mind so that we might walk in the good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. So I think the 144,000 sent us a great message. Even though they're in the future, they will face things we never face, and yet their lifestyle are models of what it really means to be a disciple of Jesus Christ.